what Jas was thinking.
Okay, Leland's us, cleaning up the mess, thank goodness. No, what are you doing? Rappy!
I don't know who he thought he was.
Oh, okay. This week we are back to normal programming. I have had my holiday and I have made my long video. But now we must all suck it up and get back on the grind. The grind in this instance being a seemingly endless number of games in the Euro-African Champions Cup. Friday night, a lifetime ago. If I strain my memory, I think I can remember people called Courtney Freeman and Tom Smith scoring freely for the Saints. They battered Champions Cup newbies Bayonnais by 61 points to 14. When you are tackling at 81% and letting Lyon make 12 clean breaks and beat 37 defenders, you are going to have a bad time. 37 defenders. That's 2 entire rugby teams plus 7 bench replacements. Connacht paid the price in a 34-20 loss, as they should for that effort. The Chiefs-Warriors game came down to a final call by the referee that snatched victory out of the visitors' hands. Honestly, there's about 5 things the refs could have called as penalties for both teams in that last scrum. But in this timeline, it meant the Chiefs hung on for a dramatic 19-17 win. Toulon versus Munster on a Saturday night. I have been told that this is a big deal. What I do know is Munster beating a stacked Toulon away from home is good. 18-29 for the tough Irish visitors, rooting the Challenge Cup champions to the bottom of their pool. Probably because of that Challenge Cup stank on them. The Bulls travel to Bristol next to take on the struggling Bears. And there must be a bunch of jacarandas growing in Bristol because the Bulls did not have that deer in headlights look they usually get when they are playing abroad. A strong scrum paved the way for a 17-31 win and Jake White happy to have secured the services of Wilco Low in Pretoria. Another game, another scrum lesson from the Saffers. This time the Stormers' big boys taught young Sale prospect Asher that there's still plenty to learn, and even with Leland Zas's gimme, the Stormers always looked comfortable. It all ended at 31 points to 24 and the Stormers well on their way to the last 16. At the same time, Leinster were taking on Stade Francais in Dublin. All the big blue boys were there and they did to a second string Stade team what you would expect a first string Leinster team to do. 43-7, all but confirming their qualification for the knockouts. Woe is Welsh rugby. The only team from Cymru in the Champions Cup epitomised the melancholy in a tough night against the visiting Harlequins. 15 points to 54 for the visitors in front of a packed out Cardiff Arms Park. Someone please just give the Welsh teams some cash. I did not catch Ulster hosting Toulouse in Belfast live, but through osmosis I could tell that that little freak was putting on a show again. 24 points to 48 the final score and Toulouse looking like the other big team along with La Rochelle and Leinster. The game of the weekend was in Bath, between Bath and Racing 92, and I think I need to stop watching Racing play because every time I do they lose. And then I feel like I've let Sia down. And do you know what it feels like to let Sia down? It feels bad. Anyway, a back and forth battle ended with Bath coming out on top 29 points to 25. Johan van Graan is making waves in Bath. Wait, that works. Oof, La Rochelle had a bit of that backlash in them, hey? They lost last time out against the Stormers and they just bottled up all that anger and pain and took it out on the Tigers this weekend. I don't know if the Tigers were at half strength, but 45-12 is painful no matter how many tackle bags you usually hold during the season. Even more oof! Why are these French sides so angry at the English? Bordeaux unleashed the best backline in Euro-Africa on a stacked looking Saracens and absolutely pasted them by 55 points to 15. There is plenty, this is the end of the Saracens dynasty going around, but I would rather focus on how utterly incredibly well Bordeaux is playing right now. A few more results like that and they might be joining Toulouse, Leinster and La Rochelle as the big 4 of the Champions Cup. That would be pretty cool. And those were the pretty cool results from the weekend. At least in any competition that won't give you welder's eye when you look at it. Okay, let me just take the hit and read out the results from the writhing mass that is the Challenge Cup so that you don't have to. Benetton smashed the Falcons. The Ospreys whooped Perpignan. The Sharks dominated Oyonnax in a game about as intense as floating on a pool. Clermont breezed past the Scarlets. Zebre beat the Dragons, the Italian budget's starting to bear fruit. Cast beat Black Lion. Edinburgh threw it away against Gloucester. Montpellier had the greatest upset in the history of sport by beating a second-string Lions. And the Cheetahs walked straight out of an Amsterdam coffee shop into a loss to Pau. Okay, I need to go take a shower. Oh, that feels much better. Okay, on to the news. The big news this week is that incredible amounts of sanity have prevailed, and Andy Farrell has been named as the head coach of the British and Irish Lions for the tour to Australia in 2025. And with that news, my wish is that the 2015 England coaching staff all reunite to wreak terrible revenge on the Wallabies for that World Cup. Owen better be captain, and Mike Brown must be the fullback, and I want Chris Robshaw to be involved in some way. Maybe he can wash the doll. Wishes come in threes, so my second one is that anyone posting Lions squads before the 2025 Six Nations is over must have their internet search history made public. It is the only just punishment. Not much other news, mostly just transfer rumours really. Owen Farrell might be leaving the English Premiership. Courtney Laws might be leaving the English Premiership. Manu Tuilagi might be leaving the English Premiership. Andre Esterhuizen might be leaving the English Premiership. Ruan Ackerman might be leaving the English Premiership. Johnny Hill might be leaving the English Premiership. Lewis Ludlam might be leaving the English Premiership. And Kyle Sinclair might be leaving the English Premiership. Luckily, the English Premiership has lured the star power of Thomas Williams and maybe even Alan Wainwright. They could not, however, capture the services of Mason Grady. It sure does look like it's the start of a sea change in English rugby. Maybe the salaries are correcting themselves a bit after the COVID-affected 4-year cycle. What it does do is open up some spots for young players to fill in those teams that the big boys are leaving. We'll see if it does well for England in the future. But not this week. This week's rugby update is done. I will see you all next week after the Bulls versus Bordeaux game turns into an 80 points apiece world record thriller. Bye.